Grayce, this is going to be one heck of I'm going to say hour.
It is. Why? Why is that, Eric?
We have people on that want to talk to us and the people listening. I don't know why, but we'll go with it.
I'm down. Let's do it.
You ready to do it?
Yeah.
Let's convene for episode 14. I'm Eric, Idiot Runner Kosek.
And I'm Grayce, Hot Pants Langheim. Eric is all business in the front of the pack, and I am all about the party in the back.
That's right, business up front and party in the back. Together, we are the Running Mullet.
And we are going to talk about every aspect of running, the podium to the DNF and everything in between.
If you are a runner, this show is for you. Now sit back, get out your foam roller, and enjoy the party. Good evening, my Grayce.
Good evening, my Kosek.
I like it. How are you?
I am fabulous. Spent the weekend up at World's End State Park, volunteering, observing, cheering, all the things at the World's End 50K and World's End 100K, and then did a little mountain biking yesterday. How about you? You recovered from all your cheering over the weekend?
Dude, that was fun. I love World's End.
I love that. You know what? I just realized over the weekend, that was my 6th year going up there.
Becky just added it up on our drive over. I think it was 7 for us. And It's insane. I'm totally fine probably never running it again. But I think I'm going to continue to just go over and soak it all in. It's like a different world, little portal you go through. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's the right way to describe it too, because there's no cell service, it's spotty at best. And it's the same people. So I have a fun story for you.
Oh, come on. All right. Did you go ahead with your story?
Okay. So I'm at High Knob, which is about mile 35 of the 100K. I'm up at High Knob, and I love cheering on all the people. It doesn't matter if I know you, I don't know you. And I think everybody's like that up there. You go up to World's End, and it's a lot of the same people. And so I was trying to help other people cheer for their people. And so there was this guy who was standing there alone, and I was like, hey, hi, my name is Grayce. Who are you cheering for?
Wait, is that how you said it? Because I would have been kind of scared.
Probably.
My name.
That is exactly where this story is going.
Okay.
So I introduced myself. I was like, who are you cheering for? And he gave the first name, and I don't remember what it was. And I was like, oh, well, what's their last name? Because I know most of the runners there. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I'm not telling you their last name. I was like, oh, okay. All right. Well, I kind of know everybody who comes up here, and he's like, well, we're from Florida. You wouldn't know us. And I'm like,
and you don't need to know us. Yeah.
And then he walked away.
That's awesome.
I really creeped him out.
We should definitely have him on somehow. That's amazing.
I felt kind of bad. I didn't want to creep him out, but I did.
Yeah.
It was probably my short shorts.
Yeah, we had a great time cheering on everybody. I mean, it's a very inspiring event. I don't know. It warms my heart as a coach and as a runner and as a trail runner.
Yeah, you had some athletes running this weekend, yeah?
I did. I had 3. Kara Hahn, it was her first 100K. She destroyed it. Strong finish. Jason Lyons, first 100K, destroyed it.
Awesome.
With a finish. And Tim Schwartzer ran the 50K and got over an hour PR on the 50K distance.
Wowzers.
It's kind of big. Yeah.
That's fabulous.
It was good.
That's awesome.
Did you have anybody actually in World's End?
I did not have any athletes in World's End. I was desperately texting, trying to get a signal to get an update because I had an athlete up at the Cayuga Trails 50 miler for her first 50 miler. That was Becky Smith. And she crushed it. She finished. She was really nervous about finishing, and she did finish. So I was so proud of her.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool accomplishment.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one I've never done. I don't really know much about it, but I always hear good things.
Yeah, I have not done it myself. I hear great things about it. And of course, you know, Ian is the race director, great race director, and looks beautiful. So,
All right. So tonight I have some homework I need to do.
Okay.
Or to work on. I've been told that on this show, on this live show, that I tend to have resting bitch face.
You do.
I know, and I know, like, it's a known thing. I knew I did, but I was told it. So why are you laughing so hard? Anyway, so I'm gonna work on that. I don't
All right.
know. I don't know how. It's gonna be uncomfortable probably, but I'll like fake smile or
I
something.
don't know what that face is, but
I'm not gonna. Maybe I got to stop trying to concentrate. I don't know. I'll work on it.
Yeah. Okay. Good homework for you. And we, you know, we're talking a little bit about our athletes accomplishing things. It's just so inspirational up at World's End. And we have 2 guests who are big inspirations today.
Yep.
Our first one is Brian Akins, and he is coming on the show for the Running Mullet, and he was DFL. So we got our DFL from the 100K distance on the show, which we're really excited about. And and if you don't know what DFL means, that means dead. Depends on who you talk to. It's either dead freaking last or dead fucking last. It's one of the two.
Family show. Family show.
Shh. It's fine.
No, it is. And I mean, he
put your kids in bed.
So 3 minutes and 40 seconds he had left, which is incredible to me. Something like that.
3
right
minutes
around
and
that.
40. Yeah, I think you're right. 3:40 or 3:20, one of the just over 3 minutes left on the clock before he made it through, and he did make it through for the finish. But just as a reminder of how difficult this 100K is incredibly difficult. Just to run a couple of numbers so you understand this, there were 104 finishers this year, and it was compared to some previous years, it wasn't terrible weather. It did get warm, but you know, we didn't have lightning storms this year. So 31 of those finishers finished in the last hour. 23 were in the hour previous. So 54, over half of the finishers finished in the last 2 hours of this race. And that for a 100K distance isn't typical. Just to kind of wrap your head around it, if you were a front of the pack runner, because we talk about the front and the back of the pack here, only 8 people finished in less than 14 hours. And these are strong runners. So him finishing DFL is just a huge accomplishment because a lot of people didn't get to finish that day. And it's awesome just to get to the front of the line for that. So we're going to bring on Brian Akins. Brian started out with, as a typical Pennsylvania runner with Dirty German as his first race on Ultra Sign Up. He did the World's End 50K last year.
I guess you're introing him, huh?
You know what? Guess what? I forgot to send you that Post-it note, buddy. I am introing Brian now. And I Ultra Sign Up stalked him. Did you Ultra Sign Up stalk him?
Well, I don't think it really matters to you. So I'm not even going to answer that.
And he ran the Heiner 50K this year. And he just finished the World's End 100K. So let's bring on Brian.
I'm going to do a better job real quick and say Brian Akins is a 41-year-old from Schwenksville, PA.
Favorite color? Do you know his favorite color?
He finished in a time of 18:56, 40 seconds, and 22 hundredths of a second at the near the 19-hour cutoff. Okay, how's that, Grayce?
Love it.
Hey, before we dive into him, let's back up.
You're gonna dive into him. I thought this was a family show.
Oh, here we go again. All right. Let me back up real quick. I have one more shout out. It's important to me because our friends need shout outs and supporters of the show need shout outs. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give it to them. Okay. Gabe Batdorf, who is listening, and you just posted his comment. He ran a phenomenal 100K race on Saturday at World's End. He ended up in 3rd place. Don't quote me, but it was like 8 seconds behind 2nd place. He almost had him. It doesn't really matter, but he ran this is his first official 100K distance.
Oh, wow. And
he runs like that. The only other time he ran that kind of distance was at my house, and that's not a race. That's more of a fun event. But anyway, it was a phenomenal performance. I got to see him several times, and kudos to him. I want to make sure I gave kudos to that. And there's a ton of other people and friends I know that were out there.
Let's talk about Brian Akins.
So let's talk about Brian Akins. All right.
I feel so welcome by Eric, by the way. Grayce, you had me down pat. I appreciate that. Eric's sitting over reading notes.
I was not. There was a bug on the table and whatever.
All good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for being on here, Brian. It's a really cool thing to be that close to the cutoff to the end of a race. And that's why I reached out. And neither of us know you. I just want to make it clear to everybody. We don't know each other at all. And I didn't really want to hear your story or ask about it before this.
Nobody wants.
Hey,
why would you want to hear it?
Because that's what makes this show special. And that's why we're live. That's why. Right. So, I mean, one of your first things that I did see that when I was kind of from this race, right?
So I lost you there. I apologize, Eric. You froze.
I'm sorry. I froze?
Maybe I froze.
No. Either way. So leading up to World's End, you raised money for mental health, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you want? Yes. Are you okay? You want to talk about that? Is it all right? A thing to talk? We can talk about?
Yeah, man. So I've been a mental health advocate, for all my life, for 20 years. So I work with. I'm an elementary school teacher. I work with kids struggling with emotional, behavioral needs, and so for a long time, I've been raising money for mental health awareness and donating it to different charities, different nonprofits. And this year, I got on the Bigger Than the Trail team and became an ambassador there for them. And it was so important to me just because it's what I live in my space. But this past February, a good friend of mine ended up taking his life. And so this year was even extra special for me, and wanted to raise money for Bigger Than the Trail, and got a shirt made for my friend Mark who passed away. And so this was an extra special year for me.
Awesome. All right, so let's dive right into what the hell happened at this race.
Real quick. That fundraiser is called Miles for Mark, and I believe it's still open.
Actually finished the day of the race.
Oh, did it?
I closed it the day of the race. Yeah. Yep.
Never mind. Bigger Than the Trail is around. People can donate to Bigger Than the Trail. It's a really great organization. So nice choice.
No doubt. Yeah. Yep. And mental health, my mental health is better because of the trail, right? And I'm sure you guys feel that too. Just
absolutely.
Running, hiking, whatever. If I'm out in the woods, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So you don't have to. We're not looking for a minute by minute recap of your day, but give us the overall gist of what went down, and what your goal was, and how it ended up so close.
Well, that's good, Eric, because I gave my daughter a minute by minute rundown of the race. I think she got annoyed with me. So, I was hoping to get under 18 hours. I've been training my ass off since the beginning of January. I hired a coach, Michael Gagliardi, aka Gags, and he's been huge for me. And so I've been busting my tail since the beginning of January. And a friend of mine who've been running with for a couple of years said he wanted to do the PA Blacklist. And so I said to him last fall, I said, you want to do this? Do you really want to do this? And he said, yes. I said, all right, then I'm all in. So I've been training like crazy and started the race, and I just couldn't breathe from the very beginning. So I have asthma, and I couldn't breathe from the very beginning. I was having a hard time catching my breath that whole race. And I got to mile 10, and I had my crew there who have to give a huge shout out to them, Scott Haight and his wife, Monica. They were fantastic. Scott just had the right things to say to me every time that I came in. And they both just remind me to breathe. And so I'm a big meditator. I've been meditating for about 12 years. And so that was a nice reminder every single time, just to breathe, slow my breathing down. And didn't get any better till like the last 14 miles of that race. I just couldn't catch my breath the whole time, but I was super slow, not feeling like I was in a good spot. And then, kept on hitting the aid stations. My mile 19, I was ready. I was done. I felt like I was going to pass out so many times during that race. I was so lightheaded, and I was ready to be done. And Scott showed me a video of my son, and it just, I just like started to tear up. I'm like, all right, I got to go. I got to keep doing this. I got to keep doing this for him. This
You know what he was doing.
He did. I got a little display of all of our medals. He and I, he's only 7, so he's got just a couple of 5K medals. But I wanted to get this buckle for him. So it got me going, got my butt moving again. And he's definitely inspired me for the rest of that race. And so Monica jumped in and started pacing me around mile 36-ish, somewhere around there. And I said that, yep. And so that was my favorite part of the race, truthfully, because we just walked and we talked, and it was like being in nature, and I was happy. And I just, and
that big downhill, you got that big downhill right afterwards too. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. And that was key. It was definitely key. But I was still having a hard time with my breath there, but we started getting to moving. And then the next aid station, Scott jumped in, and he really pushed me the rest of that way. And then we were like mile 14, I guess, Brunnerdale, around there, 14 miles away. And I knew my time, and I knew where I had to be pace wise. And I was feeling pretty confident at that point in time. I thought, oh, we got this. We got half marathon to go. I got 3.5 hours, 4 hours, something like that to finish. And then all of a sudden, man, it just caught up, and the time caught up to me real quick. And we got down to the last 10 miles. I said, Scott, we got 10 miles to go. We got 2 hours. I got to get my ass moving. Yeah. And we did. We just kept on pushing it. And so I told him, so we got some trail magic, which was phenomenal. Scott really is big in cleaning up trash. He goes on these trash cleanups like once a month, and there was just a bag sitting on the trail. And I said, man, how rude is that? Somebody just left a bag just sitting on the trail. It's so nice out here, and they're just ruining the trail. And so Scott's behind me. He picks it up. He's like, Brian, it's a tortilla bag of ice. I'm like, oh, I will take that. So he stuffed it in my back, and I ran for like 15 miles with a bag of ice in a tortilla bag, and it totally saved me. It really helped me out. So that was my trail magic. And awesome. It was super huge for me. And
that's the secret. That's why I haven't finished this race yet. Tortilla bag of ice. That's right.
That's the key.
Yeah.
And then, another thing throughout that race. So I when I was running, when I was walking, I kept on getting bit by the black flies, man, just little nips here and there all over my head. And I got no hair, so they were loving me. And there you go. So in my mind, it was just, that was my buddy Mark, telling me to get my ass moving and start running again, every time. And I just kept him in my head, and had his shoes on. I ran with a pair of his shoes. We just happened to have the same size. And so that just kept me moving. So we got down to the last 6 miles, and man, those aid stations, everyone at those aid stations was phenomenal. Every single aid station, just great people, man. And cheering you on, and whatever. At Fern Rock, somebody at that aid station ran with me for about 50 yards. He's like, you got less than 5 miles to go. You got an hour and 15 minutes. And I don't know who it was, but I was too busy trying to run. He was running with me, just telling me, look at your watch. You got less than 5 miles, an hour and 15 minutes to go. And so I'm calculating, I'm doing the math. I'm like, all right, you got 12.5 minutes. So got to keep that pace going. Yeah. And I hit about a 12-minute pace for the last 6 miles there. My last mile was about a 9-minute pace. I was just cruising, because there was no way at that point in time I was losing that buckle. No way. And and then I crossed the line. I couldn't believe it. There was a time there, like 3 miles left. I'm like, Scott, I'm not making it. I'm not going to make it. Because he was like, you only got 400 feet of elevation the last 6 miles. That 400 feet of elevation never stops when it's midnight and you can't see in front of you. So it just kept on coming and kept on coming. And, and then eventually it didn't. Then that downhill was just glorious. It's so much nicer.
Everybody knows that last 5 miles, man. It's flat runnable, and nobody has runnable legs at that point. So it goes on and on forever. I actually like it in the dark, because you can't see how monotonous it is. In the daylight, it's deja vu. It's you see 200 yards, you go, and it looks like the same thing. 200 yards, go. Yeah. It's all flat. It's just hard. And you should be running, and you can make up time, but it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I was just grooving at that point in time. I was, I was in a trance. Like I knew I had to get there, and my legs were turning. I was feeling good, and so it was. I said to Scott, my pacer, I said it's better that I couldn't see what was in front of me, and I could just keep going.
Yeah, and everybody's wondering this, and the question came through the chat. This is highly interactive, by the way. If you have any questions for Brian, please toss them in there. What was going through your head coming through the last aid station, knowing how tight your margin was? Did you doubt yourself, or did that push you on even more?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I was getting it at that point in time. I knew the time was going to be tough, but I knew I was going to get it. There was no way I was letting that buckle go. I like I said, I calculated that time in my head, what I had to keep my pace at. I told Scott, I said, listen, I'm dumping my bottle. I got 2 left if I need them, and I'm just going right through. I'm not stopping. I don't have time. And then I just took off. So the only time I doubted, like I said, I had 3 miles left, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to do it. And I was, the overwhelming anxiety of trying to get there.
Yeah.
You did it, man. You did it. And that's why we wanted to have you on. Like that's a great story you just told. It really is. And like, it's phenomenal that you're so close. I mean, you were right on that edge of victory and sadness, And you said, I think it was in your Instagram post, you actually passed 5-ish people in that last 5 miles, and being so close, you knew for a fact those poor runners were not going to make it. And that had to be hard. I can imagine how hard that was for you, being in that emotional state of mind you were in. And I mean, the clock doesn't cheat. It is what it is. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. And, in the role that I play in my life as an educator, I'm very empathetic, and my heart was just pouring out for them. And some of them I knew, via social media, and I was hoping so badly that they could get it going again, but also realized that they weren't, and that killed me. But it also, on the flip side of that, man, being optimistic, it just reminded me of all the grind that I put in every single morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, every day. Right. It paid off. That paid off for me right then and there,
Yeah. Spot on. If anybody knows about grinding, I feel like that's a segue over to bringing on Scott.
Yeah.
Because
well, I mean, I will say, you're in for the Triple Crown and the Blacklist. Yeah. I've only done the Triple Crown. The Black Forest wasn't a race when I did the Triple Crown, but I don't know where you are mentally going into Eastern States now, but for you, nothing but positive. You should have nothing but positive thoughts going into it. It doesn't matter how close you were to this cutoff, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yes, it's 100 miles and not 64. Yes, it's just as hard, but it's not harder. And somebody might disagree with me with that. It's just doing the same thing again. You just have to do it a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, you're just thankful for every mile you get to do, and what an amazing first 100K, right?
Yeah, first 100K. Listen, I only started running. Yeah, it was. I only started running 3 years ago. This was out of I was tricked by some friends to start running, and so for me to do this race, it was huge for me because that cutoff is just so tough.
It's so tight. Yeah. You can get to Bernerdale without too much difficulty, but if you haven't banked time, it's a struggle bus from that point on. So I mean, you played it smart by trying to get in there early, and you finished.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel excited about Eastern States. Much more confident, obviously, at this point in time.
Yeah.
But I feel more confident now because my legs feel great. It's my feet that are blistered a little bit. On that, my legs didn't hurt at all the whole race. So I feel much more confident now going into Eastern States. Not that it's still not going to be no joke. It's still going to be tough, but I feel a lot better now that I finished this one.
Were you wearing toe socks or not?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They were.
Yeah, it was just the bottom of my feet started to blister. But I actually didn't notice it until I took my socks off at the end of the race.
Gotcha.
Like I didn't feel it. They didn't bother me at all.
Well, phenomenal job. I will be at the Tombs Flats, which is previously Slate Run aid station of Eastern States, with the Big Idiot Runner crew, getting you through I probably won't even let you sit down. I'm going to be honest with you. But make sure you give me a big hug if you see me. I hope to see you. Your story is truly amazing. You should be very proud of what you did. And I'm sure your buddy is too.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate it a lot.
And you never know what's going to come along next, because our next guest is Scott Snell. And which is cool because Scott, and you can hang out if you want, Brian. You can gracefully bow out as well.
No doubt.
Scott has been doing this a little bit longer, but the two of you, I'm looking at your ultra sign up, and it's like Scott did one of his earlier races on there was Naked Bavarian 40 miler, which Brian, you did the 20 miler. I mean, Brian, you were following the traditional path of the Pennsylvania ultra runner.
That's right.
First you do Blues Cruise, then you do the Naked Series, then you do World's End and Heiner and Eastern States. And then apparently you graduate to backyards. And so Scott, we are very thankful that Eric knows Scott, and you had the conversation. You do this intro, Eric.
Oh, really? Now you're just passing it on to me.
Well, you did so good with your smiling that I thought I'd give you that.
You're so nice. All right. Would you want to bring him on, or do we do an intro before you even bring the poor guy on?
It's all up to you.
All right.
You're in charge.
Scott and I met shortly after I got into running in 2000. I think it was 2017. I think we did the Triple Crown together. He might correct me on that. But I felt like every race I went to, Scott was at. And then we kept in touch through that. And he finally eventually came to a summer idiot runner event, which was still the last man standing type format. And he won that like a walk in the park. I mean, everybody else is dying and sweating, and he just keeps doing loops and loops. And again, he might correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that might have been his first eye opener of why the backyard format is his jam.
Oh, can I add him in now? Because I want to see if
I hope you do. Yeah.
All
I mean, he's a guest. We can bring him in. Thank you.
Hey, well, you know how to do it.
Now, for everybody listening and everybody that will listen tomorrow, those who don't know Scott and don't know what he just did, I got to start off with that because it's insanely amazing. The last man standing event, we can describe that, but he ran 312.
It is the last person standing, just so you know.
Did they change it?
It's the last runner standing. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, 312
semantics.
Yeah, 312.5 miles in 75 hours, 75 loops. So let's back up for those that don't know what a last human standing event is. Okay.
Yes, and Eric, I think that's a good way to put it. And that's how anyone who is familiar with backyards, they probably know who Laz is. Lazarus Lake is kind of the creator of the format. But he does call it last man standing, but he says man as in human, like all mankind. So that's how he uses man. So it's not
very nice.
Not male. It's less. It's all inclusive.
Yeah, and I believe for the cap, at least for the capital, they call it last runner standing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. Yep.
Okay, go ahead, Scott. Tell us, go over the format real quick.
It's a pretty simple format. It's every hour on the hour, every runner has to run a 4.167 mile loop. And so how that equates, it comes out to exactly 100 miles in 24 hours. And so everyone has to finish that loop within the hour. And if they don't finish it, then they're out of the race. It's a DNF, did not finish. So everyone just keeps on doing this until it's really just like a race of attrition, until there's only one runner left standing, and that runner is your winner. And there's kind of like a little catch there, that in the case where if no runner finishes one lap more than anyone else, then there is no finisher, and kind of like basically the race wins. So the winner has to finish one lap more than any other runner in the race. So
and so all runners, there's one finisher, and then everybody else is a DNF.
Everyone else is a DNF or a DQ if they broke a rule.
Yeah. So before we go any farther, I if I could have had her on for this episode, it would have been amazing. I didn't even try, but we have to mention the assist, which is important. The second play, the two people running together, the person who wins can only go as far as they go if the other person with them keeps running with them.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Russo was that partner with you that made it towards the end and set a American record of 300 miles in what was it, 72 hours, right?
Yeah, 74. She did 74 hours, completed 74 laps. Yeah, which was that was Courtney DeWalter's world record for the female in the backyard. And the record previously, I think, I want to say it was like 68 hours that Courtney had set that at Biggs when she was battling it out with Harvey Lewis.
Man,
right.
That is just phenomenal. And so we just happen to not know Jennifer. She did an amazing job as well. But Eric, you have a history with Scott. You know him.
Yeah, I mean, we do.
He was up at the house. I think that's
that was actually
what you just did, and we got to make this clear for anybody who, for some reason, doesn't understand it. What you just did puts you way on a different level. Like, holy crap, dude! How do you feel right now? Like, you recovered?
Yeah, I'm mostly recovered right now. I went for my first run since the race just yesterday afternoon. And the legs are a little bit sore, but otherwise it felt pretty good to be back out and running. So yeah, I'm back to normal. Mostly caught up on sleep, still kind of a little bit more drowsy than normal, but I'm kind of sleep deprived all the time anyway, so it's kind of normal for me. I got 4 kids, so it's like there's not much downtime for me.
Yeah, we're pretty similar in age. You're 43, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, and we both have a family, and I tried the backyard format, and I don't feel like it's my strong suit. And you, on the flip side, you found out a few years ago that it's what you're good at, right? Would you argue that?
I'd say, I kind of found my niche in ultra running in the backyard, because the first backyard I did was it was just a few weeks from the last idiot standing that I did at your house. It was Run Ragged up in Connecticut.
That's right.
I ended up winning that one. It was like it turned out to be like 99 miles in 31 or 32 hours, because their race is a little unique that they don't have the actual 4.167 mile distance. It's a tougher course, but it's only a 5K course, so kind of depending on your strengths as a runner, that might be a benefit or a hardship. But that's just how it played out, and it worked out all right for me. But then I think it was about 2 weeks later that I went to your house to do that summer edition of the Last Idiot Standing. And so the 100K there didn't feel too bad. And that was like my last long training run before Eastern States that year.
Right. Which I think we ran that Eastern together, right? Not together, but I mean, we both ran the race, right?
I think that year, I want to say that year Becky was running it and you were crewing, I think. I think it was 2017 we ran it together. That was the first year that I ran it into the Triple Crown. I think you did the whole Triple Crown series that year also. Yeah. And I think that's when we got to know each other. It was 2017, and we were running all those same PA races.
How many times have you done World's End?
3 times.
Nice.
Yeah. So I went for the Triple Crown 3 times, but the middle year, was it 2018 when Eastern States didn't happen? Missed out on the Triple Crown that year just because of the race cancellation. But otherwise, I went for it 3 years. And then after 3 years of like my race schedule being the same every year, I decided I wasn't going to sign up for Heiner, because every time I signed up for Heiner, I was like, well, I signed up for Heiner, I might as well do Triple Crown. Right. And then it was just like a domino.
How they get you.
Yeah. And they opened that sign up like 1 week after Heiner, so you're still all pumped on the endorphins from running Heiner.
You have your schedule set for the next year and a half.
Yeah. So it's like before you know it, your whole season's set. So I had to just I had to shut myself off from signing up for Heiner. Otherwise, I'd be doing the same thing every year.
Yeah, you broke out of the form. You broke out of the cycle. And I think the way that everybody does, the way that everybody gets out, I think, is by signing up for a New York State race, Twisted Branch.
Yeah, that was kind of a blessing from Eastern States being canceled, that I went out and tried a different race, and Twisted Branch was great. I mean, I thought that was a great race. I loved it.
It is. Just
And
so
now-
everybody knows, we happen to be twinning tonight just by
Yeah.
chance.
It's so
Yeah.
cute. They're wearing the same T-shirt.
Wasn't even planned.
No,
Wasn't even
no.
planned. And so this was not your first backyard win. You have several backyard wins behind you, and you did have you did go to Bigs previously, and this gets you a ticket into Bigs again. So just to give some people some context, but this is your longest distance at the backyard. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Wow,
Before
that's so
that,
exciting.
my longest distance was at Biggs last year, where I did 62 yards. So that's like 258, and that was a PR for me. But it was only 1 yard better than what I did at Capitol last year, though, which I did 254 there. So things kind of fell apart for me at Biggs earlier than I wanted, and so I got to that PR, and then it was kind of like I was done at that point, and I had already fallen apart. So it was just like that PR was the last checkpoint where I could end my day there without feeling too crappy about myself.
Yeah. And so,
like I feel like a loser when I only did 258 miles.
I know. I was just thinking, like, what a great thing that Jennifer was able to help you get to a longer distance. Do you feel more prepared going into Bigs now?
Yeah, because that was the big thing. My big goal at Capitol. I mean, of course, like it's always like you want to be the last one standing. It's the whole point of the race. I mean, I'm sure most people at these backyards, I mean, maybe not most, but a lot of people have like certain goals other than being the last one there.
Yeah.
But for me, one of my big goals was making it through a third night and then seeing how far I could go. Because the third night really messed with my head at Biggs, and it just kind of, I was already losing it before that, and the third night just kind of killed me. So that was my big goal, was getting through the third night. And last year at Capitol, that was my first time running through a second night. And that was my goal at Capitol, was to make it through the second night. And then we ended up going all day a third day. And it was just, last year it was me and Jennifer. It came down to me and Jennifer as the last two again last year. And then we went out on our first night loop, and she timed out on that one. And that's how it ended last year. This year we kind of worked together for a good part of it, but then at some point it's like, well, we both want this to be over, but neither of us wants to quit. So yeah, that's kind of just how it works out.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I got to give Jennifer all the credit, because I mean, she's such a strong runner and just such a phenomenal athlete. And
now,
just like her, she's got so much fight in her. It's just like, it impresses me every time to watch her run when things get really tough on that second and third day, and she just doesn't quit.
Yeah, and getting that many yards in, even though she was the assist, does that get her into Bigs?
Yeah.
I mean, it's Laz, so he kind of.
I know that it's kind of it. I don't want to go into too much detail about it, because the whole process is kind of confusing and not that interesting to talk about. But Laz has a whole system, and it's all on a 2-year cycle for Bigs, where every other year is the team format, where you have your U.S. team versus all the other nations' teams on their home courses. So then there's only 15 spots, and that's every even year. So 2022 was the team. So this year is the World Championship. So all the winners from those will be at Bigs. So it'll be 75 runners.
Wow.
So for this year, all the winners from last year's races have a guaranteed spot. And then after that, it's just the at-large list based on your best performance on a 2-year cycle. So with Jen's 74 yards, she's pretty much guaranteed a spot.
Nice.
Yeah,
So, she'll be there.
This over 300 mile thing pretty much is the new benchmark. I like every race, people set new records and things like that. As these things go on year after year, obviously the mile benchmarks are going higher and higher, but to get over the 300 is still that threshold that's like flipping amazing, or like, you know what I mean? Not everybody's doing it these days yet.
Yeah. And just like the edge of the envelope has been pushed so quickly with backyards. Like it was just a few years ago where like the 200 mile mark was a big deal. And now it's like 200. It's not even competitive unless it goes over 200 at this point.
Right.
I mean, it's competitive, but not that level of competition. So it's like, if it's not going over 200, it wasn't like a super competitive race.
Yeah.
I was I was just thinking, Scott, how the word last in both of our cases mean completely opposite things. You ran over 300 miles, and I'm just happy to get 64. That was the last one done.
All of the course that I ran, though, that is nothing like the World's End course. Every mile you did at World's End was tougher than any of the miles I did on the Capital course.
Yeah, so different. And
maybe like after 300, it was a little bit tougher for me. But I mean, just the difficulty of the trail there is like another world compared to the Capital course.
And different number of years having been running. So I'm just saying, Brian, you still got a chance. Just keep going through the typical Pennsylvania plan. So you're on the blacklist. So you're on track, buddy.
Well, the beauty of both these races and what we're doing here is one is super physical and one is extremely mental.
Yeah. So this leads into, we did get some questions on Facebook, and one of them was yours, Eric, and some other people had the same question, which is just how.
And I guess I want
to,
I'll make that easier for you. I want to be a fanboy and ask the obvious questions, and don't be afraid to not answer what you don't want to, as far as letting out any secrets, because the level you're at, I don't care what you say or whatever, but you just broke through a little glass ceiling there, and I can't wait to see what you do in the near future. But how is a very good question, but I want to start out with I think a lot of people are very intrigued by the sleep thing, no sleep. Mm-hmm. So you went 3 full nights, correct?
Yeah, that's right. We did three nights.
And running. You have, so as we said, the format, you have 1 hour to complete the loop. You can finish that loop in half hour and take a half-hour nap, if so possible, or you could finish in 59 minutes and take a 1-minute break and get out there. Did you keep a even keel? What was your plan?
Yeah, my strategy, I think kind of like my sweet spot for the timing of the laps is like usually somewhere between like 7 to 9 minutes between laps, like coming in with 7 to 9 minutes. I feel like for me anyway, like longer than that, I sit down, I start to stiffen up. I just have extra time to sit there and wait, which I don't really like just sitting there and waiting. I'd rather it be just more of like a even continuous run. You know, I just like having enough time to sit down, get my bottle filled, you know, take a few bites of some real food, get rid of my trash that I had if I brought anything out, repack a couple whatever snacks or gels if I'm taking those out. And, you know, 7 to 9 minutes is plenty of time to do all that, you know, to address any issues that are going on. If you got to change shoes, re-lube something, change shirts, whatever you got to do to take care of yourself and take care of little problems, you know, before they become big problems. That's 7 to 9 minutes is usually ample time to do that, at least to, you know, address high priority stuff.
Did you sleep at all?
Yeah, I did sleep. I did a couple night laps where I tried to pick up the pace a little bit just to like build in a few extra minutes for sleep. But, you know, the first night, I don't think I slept much. I tried to lay down a little bit. I might have dozed off for a few minutes here and there, but it wasn't much. Second night, I know I got some better sleep. And third night, I was sleeping good on the third night. I was coming in like with, I think it was between 7 and 9 minutes every lap. So I think I had about 4 minutes where I just like spent laying down before. Well, the other catch of this is at 3 minutes before the next lap starts, they blow a whistle 3 times, and it's a really loud whistle.
Yeah.
So that kind of eats into your sleeping time, because I mean, unless you're a really heavy sleeper, that whistle is going to wake you up, and it woke me up every time. So if I came in and I had like, 7 minutes, that's only 4 minutes until the whistle. So it's only 4 minutes that you have before that whistle is going to wake you up. So that's something you got to kind of calculate into your plans too, is like how that whistle is going to affect your sleep. It was good to get sleep because when you're sleep deprived, things start getting kind of weird on that fourth day, third day even. I mean, on the third day, when I still had other runners with me to chat with, it's like it's happened to me a couple of times at other backyards on the second and third day, I think, where I'll be having conversations with another runner, and then I start questioning if I actually said something out loud or if I just thought it in my head and thought I said it, and So I actually brought it up with a few people before I got too loopy this time, and all of them said they hadn't done that before. So I guess I don't know if that's just unique to me, or I don't know, but I mean it's something that happens to me after I'm like 2 nights sleep deprived, that I start imagining I'm having conversations that didn't happen, or I have them and I don't think they happened.
Very cool.
Kind of.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, do you have somebody in your crew who is just looking for your mental stability?
Yeah, this year I had an awesome crew this year. I mean, well, I had a good crew last year, but both years I went into Capitol without a crew. So I just kind of I got adopted both years, thankfully. I just went in like you know, kind of naive, but just, you know, assuming that at whatever point I really need a crew, I'm going to be far enough along in the race that there's going to be either extra race volunteers that are going to be willing to help me out, or there's other runners and their crews that are going to be hanging out watching the race, seeing how it plays out, that are going to jump in and help. Which, I mean, that's one of the really cool things about these races, is that when your day's over, you can stay and hang out and help out other runners like me that show up unprepared without a crew.
And that's definitely the case in our sport, right? You can show up to this stuff and somebody will take care of you.
Yeah. So last year I had a few people jump in, but it was a runner who she did like 125 miles before her day was over. Her name is Dagmar. She's a local runner. She jumped in and she crewed for me like that third day at Capitol last year. Wow. And then this year I had a whole like rock star crew jump in and crew for me. Is a father and son that were both running the race. Marty's the father and his son Derek. They were both running. Marty's a 72-year-old guy. He did like 80 miles for a PR for himself, 20 laps.
That's awesome.
Killed it. And then after that, he got a little nap, and then he was helping crew for his son Derek, who went like I think 130 miles, and his son had his buddy there crewing for him, Jaron, and so then after their day was done, they all got a little bit of rest. Then they all jumped in and crewed. All three of those guys crewed for me for that like second day, third night, third day, and all day third day, and yeah, third night too, I guess. But yeah, I had like a total rock star crew, and they took great care of me like the whole time that I was in need of care.
Wow, that is phenomenal.
So I have one more question, then Grayce, you can ask whatever you want. Scott, you can plead the fifth on this respectively if you want. I don't blame you if you do, but if you had an assister to keep moving, where were you at? I mean,
I was eyeing the American record at the point where we stopped.
Fair enough.
Because the American record's 85 yards, and we both agreed, like we kind of had a little thing going. Before it was just me and Jennifer. We had the last 4 people in the Capitol were all members of Team USA from last year's backyard at Biggs. So we had all run together as a team last year at Biggs. So there's already a lot of camaraderie there between the 4 of us. And so we all made an agreement that we're going to push to 72 hours. And that was a big goal for Jennifer. And we all agreed we're going to do that. And then after that, it was backyard rules. We're going. It's cutthroat blood sport after that. Whoever lasts, and you know you're on your own. So it's like, yeah, you're a team up to a point, but then you're going to be on your own. I mean, that's just the nature of the backyard. That's how the rules work. So we did that, but by the time we got to 72 hours and 73, I'd looked at the American record again before going into this race, and when we got that close, I was like, you know, it's only if we make it through the day, we're there. So I definitely had that in my sight at that point. I mentioned it on the first day to other runners, and you know, the head games are kind of stupid in backyards because some people like to play head games, and that early, I don't think like a head game like that is really going to mess with anyone. But I was talking about the American record on the first day, and I think most people thought I was joking, and it sounds like a joke when you're on your first day and you're saying I'm going to go 85, 86 hours. But I mean, I thought if it was possible, that's a course that you could definitely do it on. So so yeah, it wasn't just like a wild idea that came up to me when I was completely sleep deprived and exhausted. It was a thought beforehand.
Man.
Nice. Well, hopefully you can get it at Biggs. Because
I,
you're going to Biggs.
Yeah, I'd like to. I guess that'd be the place that'd be more respectable to do it, just because the Biggs course is tougher. I will admit that
Yeah.
that Biggs course is pretty tough compared to Capital.
All right.
But
And
it's definitely a goal to shoot for.
absolutely. And you did a lot of training building up to this. And in the Running Mullet Facebook group, you had posted a bit of your spreadsheet that you said that was a backbone of your training plan. Talk a little bit about how you train for something like this.
Yeah, I kind of just came up with this idea last year when it was after I won the backyard squash, and that was a bronze ticket to get me entry to Capital last year, which was a silver ticket last year to get into Biggs. So like, I mean, I don't know how you're supposed to train for a race that you don't know how long it is. I mean, it's like, what do you do? You don't know how long you're running, but you know your pace. So I just kind of based it on, I know what my pace is going to be. So I'm just going to do, try and build as much volume as possible. And I want it to be as consistent as possible. So I just tried to run like really consistently, almost daily. There were a couple of rest days in there, but very few. And then the way I tried to build the volume, I tried to do it gradually. And I figured the best way to do that is to look at big chunks of training, which is I looked at it 1 month at a time. So I took each month, like the first month, which was I didn't really consider a training month. I just looked at my mileage for the month and figured out my average daily mileage. And then I said, okay, well, that's the goal. I want to increase my daily mileage, my daily average mileage for every month leading up to Capital. And that's what I did going into Capital. And it worked out for me there, getting the win. And so that's what I did for Biggs. Didn't work out so well there, but I did it again this year for Capital. It worked out again. So I don't know. It seems to be a good way to prepare for these backyards.
Yeah. I think the hard thing is thinking that there's other runners out there who are also very strong and doing the same thing, right? That's the hard thing.
Yeah. And
man.
I mean, the way I look at that is like, at some point the backyard isn't really a physical competition.
Yeah.
It's more of a mental competition and just who has the drive and I said it before, and it's like so cliche that it's annoying, but it's like when it comes to backyards, I think it's just like who wants it more is going to get it. If as long as no one's injured or like fighting shin splints or something, it just comes down to who's got that mental fortitude to keep pushing when they just don't want to be there anymore, don't want to do it anymore. So I mean, it's like I think at some point, it's just who's got the drive to keep going.
Yeah, and I always tell, I mean, the backyard format is so simplistic, it's beautiful. But anybody that's a trail runner, road runner, anything, I always suggest that they give one of those races a try because it's unlike anything else out there. And I would think you would agree with me, Scott. I mean, and these people, you don't have to try to win it if you don't want to. The beauty of it is there's so many personal goals you can set in this type of format, but yet it pushes you mentally harder than any other race format possibly can.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I will say for the format that's a struggle when you're in the back of the pack is the distance. So there are people, like me who just won't last that long because I can't do a mile that fast, just, regular, depending on the terrain and how long I've been up and everything. But the race distance is what gets you when you're at the back of the pack. That being said, and I hope I see more of this, the Pemberton 24 is different. That one's a 5K. And it's not a last person standing. It just goes for 24 hours. So I just want to throw that out there for anybody who's in the back of the pack thinking, yeah, but I can't do 4 miles in 1 hour, right? There are some a couple other races out there, I think, that have some cool formats that make it possible for us all to feel what it's like to all be on the start line every hour. On the hour, see how long you can go. We had,
I was gonna say, like, because it is. I mean, if you're, feeling, if it's a stress to make that lap, it's gonna be tough to keep going. But like the thing I've seen about backyards is so many people that I've talked to and met through backyards, they've set their distance PRs at a backyard race, just because it forces you to pace yourself. You're not going out there. You can't, go out too hard and blow up. So it forces you to pace yourself. And then on top of that, it's like you got everyone there. Anytime anyone tries to quit, even though it's like when someone quits, you're closer to winning. Anytime someone quits, everyone's trying to keep them in the race. Everyone's encouraging them to do one more yard. Yeah. So, I mean, it's like we lost one of our teammates who was trying to, better his spot to have a better shot at going to bigs this year. And he was ready to drop a little after 24 hours. And it was me and Keith, another one of my teammates from bigs last year. And we were just trying everything we could to convince him to go back out for one more, just hoping he's going to, something's going to flip during that lap. But, he just mentally, he checked out at that point. It was done. So, but it really is. It's a really encouraging environment for everyone to push themselves to their best.
It absolutely is. And I think I will say that about, I have not done a last person standing just because of the distance. But I've done looped races before. And I think that is one of the cool things is for a back-of-pack runner, I get to run with people at the front of the pack because you all end up kind of running together. And I'm friends with people from all over in the pack, the front, the middle, and the back. And it's such a cool environment because I never get to run with people from the front of the pack unless it's a looped course or it's a training run or something. So it's such an encouraging environment from the whole crew, from everybody, and I love that about that format. Back to some questions.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go, Grayce.
Okay. Oh, it's me. Questions. I have more questions from Facebook. Vin from, he's a race director for Laurel Highlands, which is coming up this coming weekend. Beautiful race, by the way. He had said, what are you running from, dude?
Midlife crisis.
Love it. Let's translate to that, maybe to like what inspires you out there.
I don't know. I mean, that kind of like, I think that ties into just your why about running, and everyone's got their why, and I think it's personal for everyone. But I think with backyards, if you don't have your why and you're not if you don't really believe it, you're not gonna. When it gets hard, you're not gonna keep going. If you don't have the reason to keep going, everything hurts and you're tired, you're exhausted. Sleep deprived. Everything's telling you just call it. Why keep torturing yourself at this point? So you have to have a really strong reason, or something really motivating you to keep pushing on.
Yeah, spot on. I think that's exactly what we heard from Brian earlier was his why. So that's great. You tied it in. And I just want to throw this in from the chat. If you're listening in on the podcast, I mentioned Pemberton 24, also Hills Creek and Red Barn Challenge are in a slightly different format for those backup pack runners, which is awesome. And, Angela had asked out on Facebook, which we kind of skipped past this, but we were so excited about hearing about the race. But just how did you get into running?
Oh, actually, I mean, I probably have my wife to thank for that mostly. I wasn't a runner before I met my wife, and so this is when I was in my mid 20s when I met her. Wasn't a runner, so this is 20 some years ago, and she's a runner, so probably the simplest way to explain it was I was just trying to impress her and have an excuse to spend time with her.
Did it work? Did you impress her?
I guess she married me. I mean,
awesome. It worked.
But at some point, I guess I fell in love with running. So now, I mean, we both still run. I run a little bit more than her.
Yeah.
Scott, you do your own homemade eggnog challenge. Does that impress her too?
What is that? Is it what?
What didn't you do an eggnog challenge? Make an eggnog challenge up. Everybody knows what a beer mile is. Wasn't it similar to that?
Yeah, it's basically a beer mile just with eggnog.
I remember seeing this.
Yeah. The rules of the eggnog challenge, they're not really. There's no governing body like the beer mile has right now. So it's actually a race director here in New Jersey, Kim Levinsky. She hosted a couple eggnog. She called them nog slogs. That's what it was. I think the eggnog slog. But she hosted a couple. I wasn't able to make it to them in person, unfortunately. So so I just did my own on my street and ran a couple eggnog miles for a couple of years. And not the best decision of my life, but you know, I think in retrospect it built character. So I don't totally regret it, but it's probably one of the most uncomfortable feelings I've ever had at the end of that eggnog mile.
I did a White Claw mile, and that was pretty rough.
Yeah.
I did a White Claw mile.
What other questions, Grayce?
That's all I got from the Facebook. Brian, what do you got?
Well, I was just curious, Scott. Like, did you just have remnants of eggnog all over your street afterwards, or were your neighbors pissed at you?
No. It was actually it wasn't didn't make that much of a mess. I didn't vomit at all. So I mean, I kept it all down, but it was just really I felt very bloated. My stomach was sloshing all over for the last half mile of it, and just not entirely fun at the time, but fun to think about having done it. So yeah, it's not terrible. I've done I started organizing a hot dog mile also because I'm a bit of a competitive eating fan. So
I'm in.
Okay, yeah.
If as long as I don't have to do like 10-minute miles, like if you can make the mile slow enough for me, this gut, I'm telling you what, it's made of steel. I can eat anything.
It's as slow as you want. It's just 1 mile, 4 hot dogs, just like a beer mile, just with hot dogs. So we do it every 4th of July at my wife's house, my wife's parents' house, and we have like all the families there. We do this big hot dog run, and it's usually not really competitive. It's usually just me and my wife's brother are the only two that are really competitive about it. And he's gotten me. I think he's gotten me 2 or 3 of the years that we've run together, and I got him 1 year. He's pretty fast. But you know, I think if we did a last dog or a last person standing hot dog challenge, I think I'd get him there. So maybe
that's what I was gonna say. Like, get rid of the hot dog and you win that.
Yeah. But yeah, the hot dog mile nowhere near as bad as the eggnog mile.
Phenomenal though.
So if you're gonna choose one or the other, I'd recommend the hot dog mile.
Okay.
Man, well, either way, it really is fun watching what you do, and I mean, I hope everybody that's listening or knows about that format and what you actually did understands it in a phenomenal job, and we all look forward to watching you.
And we're really excited. Eric was so excited, and he's like, "We should interview Scott, and we're gonna be the first ones."
He's big time.
Well, I was pretty excited to hear. I haven't heard from you. We haven't chatted in a long time because I haven't done any Pennsylvania races in so long now. It feels like it's been a long time since I've done anything in Pennsylvania. So it's been a long time, and since you stopped doing the backyard format in your yard and did more timed events, it's a little bit more. It's a longer drive for me to do the shorter stuff. So if you bring back the backyard, I'll be back.
I keep telling him to do a 48 hours so that I can do well. It's too short.
Yeah,
do
a backyard with hot dogs.
And eggnog and all that stuff. This next one's gonna be something. I'll tell you what.
The backyard's gonna be a mess after this one.
So we're
sitting there with a big smile.
I'll be so happy. Make it 48 hours, hot dogs and eggnog, and I'm in. I'll win that thing. Well, all Scott, really appreciate you coming on. Brian, appreciate you coming on because you didn't know either one of us. You were just like, all right, I guess I don't know what this thing is. And best of luck to the both of you in the rest of the year, all the cool stuff that you have going on. Eric, what are you doing this weekend?
It's kind of like a free weekend. I got to get some more long runs in leading up to my next 100 in July in Montana. So long run and nothing crazy.
Nice.
Staying home. Yeah. You?
Yeah, I'm going to be celebrating my 13th wedding anniversary this weekend. I know. So we're going to do some hiking, some mountain biking. We got a little Airbnb up by Duncannon, and it's going to be a good weekend.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, both of you, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Scott, so much. Hope to have you back on the show at some other point eventually, maybe with even bigger miles for both of you, if you know what I'm saying.
Work on it.
Yep. Thanks for taking the time to be on. Everybody listening, thanks for listening, watching. Make sure you follow the channel on YouTube, Running Mullet channel. Tell your friends, tell your parents.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Instagram. Yeah. We got Patreon. Yeah. We got all the things.
Yeah. And share the show with other people. Like, people got to tell their friends, man. Tell your friends. Tune in. It'll be on Spotify in the morning. It'll be on Apple in the morning. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next week. We have an amazing story with an amazing athlete. We do. It'll be another good one. This one right here, Grayce, this was one of the top ones. I'm not going to lie.
It keeps getting better. The more we have other people on and not us, it's doing pretty great.
Yeah. If it phase us out a little more, I think we're good. All right, guys. Have a great night. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye.
Right. Good one, guys.
Bye.